Right, hello, you wonderful people. It seems I've been tagged to do my favourite knife video by Huples Cat. So here goes nothing. As you can see, I do actually have a lot of knives. I don't want to be misconstrued as a knife nut because I don't believe there's any such thing unless you're a collector and you have them in suitcases and you polish them daily. As you can see, that's not the case with mine. They're pretty much all users, I say bar one, which I actually did pick up as a historical piece. That being you won't recognise it because I've customised it, but it's the Dartmoor CSK 185. After the Wilkinson Sword factory closed down, they were selling off all their old stock. So I managed to pick one up, and I'll put a link, or not a link, but I'll put a picture up of what it used to look like. I mean, I don't want to slate the knife because I mean the Mark One version was a knife created, helped. The design was how do I say it? The design. I'm going to start this video again. No, I won't. Basically, Ray Mears helped design the first version of this blade. The second one, it wasn't particularly great in design, in my opinion. I'm slating it because it actually had a threaded piece of bar back here where the pommel would screw onto, and it had like a hollow handle. And one day when I was fishing with my friend, I was chopping some firewood, as you're meant to be able to do with a survival knife, and the actual threaded rod here just snapped off, snapped off the end of the blade. So I thought it was a goner. It was £175 the knife, and so I decided I'd customise it. But it's been left in its sheath now for probably about 3 or 4 years, which is silly because I did say they're all users, these knives. But like I say, this is the historical piece version of my setup, and basically I customised it. So I put an oak handle on it. As you can see, it's got some quite deep pit in there, and it's a pity because I've had to sand it back like mad, and I'm still having to sand it back. But it was a shame to sort of waste it. But it's nice to know that this is sort of like literally an old school blade, but it's also one of a kind because I've obviously made it my own, as it were. But yeah, I don't rate them. They are stainless steel. I think they're 440 or 440A stainless steel, which isn't ideal for a steel. I'm a carbon steel blade man myself, and yeah. So so if people aren't into knives and all the rest of it, this might not be the video for you. This is probably going to seem quite boring, but I'm going to carry on regardless. So yeah, that's the Dartmoor CSK 185, which I picked up, and I'm in the process of recustomizing it because it got a bit rusty. I'm going to hold on to that. Then we have a Swiss Army Mauser. This is a German Army knife which was issued to the German Army apparently. This is one of the original ones, and it is basically made by Victorinox, but it's got a slightly bigger blade. Victorinox, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. But it's got a slightly bigger blade. It's still got the same features in terms of the stainless steel used and all the rest of it, but it's just a bit beefier than the others. You know, made for army use and all the rest, and it's not in bad nick considering its age. I got it for £20 when I was about 9 years old. This is the days where you could literally go into these sort of hiking, camping hardware stores and buy these sorts of things as a kid. I remember I went to work with my dad and I pestered him for pay after being there for pretty much 5 minutes. The whole work thing I didn't quite understand, as you can imagine. And he eventually gave us the 20 quid, and I made the pilgrimage myself at ripe old age of 8 or 9, and went and bought this knife, and they sold it to me. Granted, the guy did ask me, you know, what I was intending to do with it, and I said it was I was asked to purchase it by my father. So I was a little shit, what can I say? But so that's another sort of historical piece, but that does get used. I leave that in the car really. It's just over 3 inches and all the rest, but I use it for work, so that's my excuse. So that's the Swiss Army Mauser. Then we've got obviously this the Swiss Army Huntsman by Victorinox, which you can see on my EDC video. It's nearly my favourite because I actually use it every day. Then we got an Open L number 8 I believe. Great knives. They have got a carbon steel blade, so they're really they take a nice keen edge, and they're great for wood carving and bits like that. And that goes in my sort of kit when I'm out in the woods, as it were. They changed the design. It used to just lock when it was open, but some clever fucker decided to put a little notch in the side of that ring, which allows you to actually lock it when it's closed as well now, which is just a nice little modification. And again, yeah, I've changed the shape of this a little bit, but again, that's a user. Moving on, let me put this to one side. Sorry, Huples Cat, I know this isn't what you asked for, mate, but as you can see, I'm quite passionate about these bladed articles. Leatherman Charge, an AL. I really like pliers on these, and this forms part of my everyday sort of bag, everyday kit. And that comes with a 154 cm blade, so it's a kind of a stainless blade, but I think it's still got quite a high carbon content because the edge is not bad on it. Not amazing, again, I wouldn't call that my go-to knife for everything, but you know, it's an all-in-one package, isn't it? So I do recommend that everyone owns the Leathermans. They are fan-bloody-tastic. 25-year guarantee on them, so you can't really grumble with that. Even the accessories, like the little eyeglass screwdriver, I actually snapped that, and I was thinking I was having to buy a new one. I was looking online and they were selling them and all the rest of it, and I phoned up the Leatherman warranty repair and I told them that, you know, it broke, and they sent me out a new one. No questions asked. They just asked for my address. It was amazing. But yeah, 25-year guarantee on that, so that's a life sentence. Okay, in my tool bag that I take to work, I mean, obviously I'm working from home now, but when I have to go out and do carpentry jobs, I take this. Again, it was just a great find. This was €11 in a fishing shop, and I knew that the guy had made a mistake somehow in his pricing. There is absolutely no way you would get that for this price nowadays. But I don't think they make them anymore. This is the EKA Sandvik Normark. I think there's an actual name for this. I can't remember. I did a bit of research on it, but people are like selling them for 30 or 40 quid now and all the rest. So, you know, it could be considered a collector's item, but I prefer to use it. I sharpen my pencils and stuff like that with it at work. But that's a nice little locking knife. Not the strongest lock and all the rest of it, but it's got a good stainless blade on it for you know, so it doesn't need much maintenance, and it does hold a not bad edge. The steel on it is Sandvik 12C27, I believe. I've never heard of it, but it's obviously one of the steels they use in the Nordics. So that's that. Okay, see, it looks like I'm a knife nut, doesn't it? But I've got a little simple philosophy on knives in general, and there hasn't been a tool that has been and gone that has been more useful to man than a blade, like a knife, let's say. You know, I've said this before in one of my other videos, but it sort of rings true. From a big factory to just a humble carpenter, you know, a cutting machine in a factory to a carpenter in his planes, they all use blades. Do you know what I mean? So a knife is pretty much the most simplistic version of one you're going to get, that you can hold in one hand and use in a variety of different ways. There you go. So, okay, moving on. These are production knives. This is just a little blade I'd made back in the day. I still haven't got a handle on it, and it's resided to be a little tool knife that I'm sort of cutting leather with and bits and pieces. But that's 01 tool steel. To be finished. Okay, this is, again, apologies Huples Cat, don't feel like you've got to watch this all, mate. This was a Bushcraft knife. This is the first knife I made, really. As you can see, it's got quite a bit of patina going on in that. Haven't used this one in a while, but you know, it was the first one I made, so the heat treat isn't amazing on it. It's a little bit soft in places where I was a bit cack-handed with my heat treat. You know, it hardened up nicely. I hardened it in motor oil after, you know, I built a forge and all the rest of it. Hardened it, but lo and behold, I tried to heat treat it on a gas burner on a hob, which didn't pan out too good, let's say. There are points in it that are nice and hard, but this bit down by the choil is pretty soft, so I'm having to sharpen it quite regularly. But that said, because it is relatively soft, I have pounded on this blade, really pounded on it, and used it a hell of a lot, and I haven't broken it yet. So it's got a bit of firework on the back as well there, and a leather sheath for it. But yeah, so that was the first one I made. So let's call that a Mark 1. Obviously, another blade. I think I was just trying to find every blade in the house to try and be funny. So we'll skip that. Yes, in terms of production knives, I can't recommend enough. If you're looking for just one blade, you want to put it in your backpack and have a jack of all trades, I can't recommend enough the A1 fork niven survival knife. Let me just get a close up on that because spelling it might be an issue. Yeah, the blade is it's just over 6 inches long, something like 100 and getting to 160 centimeters, and it's got very thick. My accurate calipers here. It's got a very thick spine on it. It's like a 6 mil thick spine, but it's got a nice pommel. It's just the obviously a through tang, sorry, a full tang, and the pommel is exposed, so you can sort of hammer with it. I can't remember the name of this sort of rubber they use on the handle, but it's really grippy. So maybe Huples Cat, this would be a good one for you, mate. In terms of cold weathers, because obviously when you're with gloves, you're going to need a nice sort of grip to, you know, so you don't foul the handle and then cut yourself. But it has got a laminated blade, so it's 2 pieces of sandwiching steel and a center core of VG10. So the VG10 is the high carbon, and the outside is some form of stainless, and that gives you the best of both worlds, really, because it sort of protects the blades, but but you also get a very fine cutting edge. Some argue that the blade chips and all that, but I haven't found that. You know, if you sharpen it properly and keep the convex grind on there, I found it doesn't chip too badly. So this, as a, you know, a be-all and end-all knife, if you want to only buy one, I would recommend this, although it's quite expensive. Comes with a, I can't remember, Cry something sheath, which is not Kydex but similar. And you can improve the sheath if you add some Ranger bands and some paracord, which I have. But yeah, it's a great knife as a survival knife, let's say. It's a serious tool, that. Then we've got the smaller brother. This was the first production knife I made in terms of a full tang. It's the F1 Makata. I absolutely love this knife, I must say. This was 180 quid back in the day. They've since got ridiculous expensive. I can't even begin to tell you how expensive they have got, just because they're using the new 3G steel on it. But this, again, is a lovely knife, and I must say, I'm tempted to say this is my favourite, to be honest. I didn't make it. I would have liked to have called my own blade my favourite, but as a go-to knife, having just like the A1, the what do you call it, the laminated steel, having the Makata handle, the fit and finish, all the rest of it. The sheath is pretty poor, the standard one, but I'll probably make a new one because I've got some new leather. Is a fantastic blade. Some people say they're hard to resharpen. I do not find that. It's also got a very thick spine. Get my accurate calipers again. A very thick spine for the size of the blade, but again, you should see the destruction tests on it. You can pretty much not break it. This one is just over a 4 mil spine, so it's a pretty serious heft of a blade. I mean, I would have liked it to have just been a tad longer. I think the aesthetics and the ergonomics of the knife would have been just that little bit better. But being the F1, it is the actual issued, I believe, Swedish fighter pilot survival knife, and it had to be a small enough knife so it can fit in their injector seat, I guess. But love this knife, honestly. If you know, if you could buy two, buy two. If you could buy one, buy this one. If the money isn't of an option, buy this one now, but be prepared to spend some serious dough. And that's just a sheath that I've added a load of gaffer tape to, and it's got a little pocket I've added again out of gaffer tape. So this is it probably. Huples Cat, the F1 Fognivon F1 in Makata. But as a bonus round, this is probably my second favourite. This is the actual second knife I made that was originally intended to go to a friend, but we since lost contact, so I don't even know where to send it if I wanted to. But now this resides now as my my bushcraft knife. This one I actually did get the heat treat right on it. I baked it in an oven at can't remember the gas mark or whatever, but this actually got a really puckery heat treat on it, so it holds its edge really nicely. And it's been really good in the field for all sorts, you know, from preparing meat and all the rest of it to carving sticks and making feather sticks. You know, it really having if you want a woodcraft knife, Huples, definitely mate, go for a Scandi grind, which is, it's easy to tell a Scandi grind because they've just got one change of angle after the the back of the knife, literally one change of angle, and it comes straight to a point. Obviously you get this sort of saber grind where you can sort of just hone the very edge of it, but a true Scandi goes from this part here to the point, and it changes angle just once, something like a 20 or so degree angle, and what that does is that really bites into the wood. It works like a double-sided chisel, really. It goes straight through the wood, and it's just absolutely great for wood carving and whittling and stuff like that. They fall down on other areas in terms of food preparation and slicing and stuff. They're not really great for that because it acts like a wedge, this blade, and sort of pushes things apart. But definitely, if you want a wood working knife, go for a Scandi grind, mate, with what do you call it? High carbon steel. I use this and abuse this all the time, and that was again a sheath I made. I don't know how this video is coming out, but we shall continue. A bit smaller than the first one I made because my friend had smaller hands than that, but I just like it. It goes as my sort of neck knife, and I also take that. So A1 and that goes on my hip, that goes on my chest. And while you're here and I'm boring everyone to death, if you need a machete, I can't recommend enough the Martindale No. 2 Glock. It's like based off a design that was issued to the squaddies, and it has got a super soft carbon steel temper on it. But that said, that's nice for me. That's nice for a machete because even if you chop into a brick, you're not going to you will not chip it. You won't chip it. You'll just roll the edge. You'll dent the edge, but it's so soft that you will chip it, and it's very easy to sharpen with a file that comes with it. A nice little file here, bastard cut, I believe, file. And you can just literally sharpen that. You can have that between your feet and sharpen this up nicely. It doesn't obviously come like this. It's probably that much longer, but I've since sort of cord wrapped the handle with a bit of leather to make it a little bit more like a Rambo knife. But I pound on the back of this with a hammer, as you can see, and it just allows me to split logs and do little bits and pieces. So that is a really great machete, I find, because it does what it says. You know what I mean? It chops. You know, it's just a versatile bit of kit that's not going to shatter or break on you. You know, you can dig with it, obviously like that. You can dig with it and really beat it up. Do you know what I mean? So I highly recommend that. So yes, I really apologise for this being a long video, but I'm quite into my knives, as you can see. They'll get used, apart from the one we spoke about, and otherwise it's these in the field for me. With that being with that being my favourite. Thank you for watching. I guess I'm going to have to tag someone else now. Right, if you're still here, I tag you, Butty back, you pal, and everyone should check out his channel and subscribe to him as well. He's a great guy and he gets out there more than most of us, trust me. And also Expo Max, if you're still watching, I want to see your favourite knife, buddy, but I've got an inkling as to what that's going to be. How many more people? Oh yeah, Bug Out Brad, if you haven't been tagged already, mate. I want to see your favourite knife. It could be that cleaver though, couldn't it? So that is it, guys. Sorry for the long video, and I hope you enjoy. There's going to obviously be more to follow. Alright, peace.